So I want to talk about the Edmonton Oilers today. As my favorite team, they do hold a lot of my attention, and I could really talk about them all day. As a fan, something that I've been thinking about quite a lot recently is if this team is able to fully get over the hump and finally make that cup run that everyone is expecting from them. On paper, you should say, well, of course, they have two of the best offensive weapons in the league, a young and up-and-coming goalie in Skinner, and a pretty solid top-line defensive pairing in Ekholm and Nurse. Obviously, they should. What would be stopping them? But if you look at their record in the playoffs in the last 5 years, it's been rough times in Oil City. Last year in 2023, we lost to the Vegas Golden Knights in the second round. In 2022, we got swept by the Colorado Avalanche in the conference finals. In 2021, we were swept by the Jets in the first round. In 2020, we lost to the Blackhawks in the first round. And in 2019, we missed the playoffs entirely. So it's been a long time coming for the Oilers, and there's been a lot of heartbreak and a lot of hardship along the way. Something that is worth mentioning, however, is the last 2 years, the only people to beat them have gone on to win the Stanley Cup. So it's only taken the Stanley Cup champions to take down the Oilers in the playoffs, so that is worth mentioning. One thing that I think is quite overlooked as well when talking about the Edmonton Oilers is the mental game. In the early days of the McDavid era, they were pretty bad. They were missing the playoffs pretty consistently, and they were usually around the bottom of the league. They were dealt two huge blows in the last few years with the deaths of Ben Stelter and Cody Cave. It's hard to put that past you when you're just getting over one tragedy with the death of Cody Cave, just to experience another with the death of Ben Stelter. It is really it's a lot, and I think any team would struggle, and I think any team would have a hard time getting over that hump and have a hard time kind of getting it together and shutting up and skating when that's on their mind. And just the impact I think that had in the locker room. They lost two brothers. Um, it's it's hard for me to talk about because it did hurt me as well. Both of those deaths really hit home pretty hard, and I think I totally understand why the team was struggling to kind of keep going and to kind of keep it together. It's really hard for locker room morale or motivation going into the playoffs, especially with all the expectations on this team with McDavid and Draisaitl on the lineup. I totally see why they they they're they had their struggle. That along with the expectations with McDavid and Draisaitl, I can totally see why that would take a huge toll on the team and the locker room. You know, the playoffs are hard enough, and when you have that in the back of your mind, as well as the expectations of having those two players on your team saying like, oh, you should be a shoe in for the cup final because you have those two players, it's a lot. Or if you're guys like Warren Fogle, Zach Hyman, Ryan Nugent Hopkins, or any of those guys, like that's a big cross to bear, and they work their hardest and they do what they can. But I think getting past that mental game and that mental block that they have right now is a huge part of it. And I do think it is improving. I think guys like Zach Hyman and Nugent Hopkins and Connor Brown and all those guys, I think they really love to be a part of the organization. Even like Draisaitl and McDavid, they absolutely love to be a part of the organization from everything I've seen. I think they really do enjoy being an Oiler, and I at least I hope they do. From what I've seen, I think they do. Like I hear all those arguments for people saying like, "Oh, McDavid's gonna leave. McDavid's gonna leave. He looks miserable because he had a sad face on the bench or he got pissed off after a loss." I have seen literally no evidence whatsoever to point to McDavid wanting to leave. He has done nothing but say he wants to stay. He has done nothing to but show that he wants to succeed with the team. And I think there's a case to be made about star players like the McDavids, like Crosby's, Ovechkins, wanting to win with the club that drafted them, especially when they were drafted so high. It's weird to say they took a risk because it's McDavid, but I think they want to reward them for taking that risk on them, for giving up their first overall pick for them. I think that is a big part of it, and I think winning with that club is really important to them. And I've heard other players talk about like the drive to want to win with the team that took a chance on you and drafted you, and it's definitely nothing to shake at, and it's definitely nothing to just gloss over. I think it has a very big part of McDavid's morale, and I think he is. From everything I've seen, I think he is committed to the team. He just this season. He's after getting his 800th point. They were saying like he even said like I that's a big number and I can't wait to get more with this team. Like from everything I've seen he wants to be there. So I just don't understand the argument entirely of him wanting to leave. I just don't see it personally. I get the Tavares thing happened where he was saying that up until the end, but that's like one in a million. Like that like never happens. So it's pretty rare that a team gets screwed over that badly. So I think the arguments are pretty hollow for him wanting to leave. Something else I wanted to mention while I was here talking about the Oilers is the power play merchant accusations. These are pretty hollow in my opinion because they have the best power play in history. So it's not really much of a roast and it's not really much of a argument because it's the best ever. So like, yeah, you can say, oh, they rely on it too much, but like if any team had the best power play in the league, they would rely on it just the same. So it's like not really an argument. And it's kind of just, I feel, coping from a lot of Flames fans, Leafs fans, Canucks fans, all that stuff. Other Canadian team fans like to cope with that, but like I just think it's not much of a roast because it's the greatest of all time. So yeah, I don't really hear that one out. So I think for the Oilers, all the pieces are there. I think that they could definitely make a deep run if they really wanted to. I just think they need to let go of their past failures, their past traumas, and their past issues. Again, with those two deaths of Ben Stelter and Cody Cave, those are black eyes on the entire organization that you can't just get over. But I think they can do it. I think this team is very capable, and I think the pieces are all there. They seem to know what to do. They seem to understand the holes in the lineup. Ken Holland, I've been very critical of him in the past, but I do believe that he has an idea of the future. He has an idea of what this team needs to succeed, and I'm all for it. I think he understands that there's issues with depth scoring, in depth and with depth on the defense. That's why he went out at the trade deadline and got Troy Stecher and Adam Henrique. That's why at the deadline he went out and got Troy Stecher and Adam. That's why at the deadline he went out and got Troy Stecher and Adam Henrique. I think he understands the position that the Oilers are in, and I think that it's honestly just a case of not even if, but when. I think we're just kind of waiting in line at this point of like when is it our turn to make that big deep run. And I think this could be the year. I think this could be the year. I think next year could be the year as well. You could honestly make a case for anybody in the league right now. You could honestly make anyone a case for anyone who's in a playoff spot right now. So I think it's definitely going to be interesting, and it's never going to be easy. That's the main. I think the main issue or the main challenge that the Oilers are facing right now is just how good other teams are. Like Dallas Stars, they just got blown out by Dallas last night. Colorado, they seem to not be able to figure out Colorado very well. I don't know what it is about that team, but McKinnon and Makar just feast on Oilers blood just constantly in the playoffs. Vegas, I think they could take on Vegas pretty easily. And I think they can beat them quite handedly if they really tried. I just think hopefully their past issues with Vegas don't come back to bite them and kind of don't get a PTSD kind of meltdown moment against them. So we'll see. Again, we're eating good. I said this in one of my podcasts. We are eating good. These playoffs are going to be fantastic. I cannot wait. Even if the Oilers don't make it, that's totally fine. I'm just excited because there's going to be some great hockey down the line here. And I think as hockey fans, we are in a blessed position to watch some of these just some of these absolute monsters fighting for the biggest cup in sports. I think we're in a blessed position to see these absolute titans go at it for the cup, and it's a great time to be a hockey fan, and I'm loving it. So thank you for watching. That's pretty much all I have to say. I think the Oilers have a chance, and I'm excited for the future. I also just wanted to show off my Ethan Bear jersey. Isn't it sick? Yeah, thank you for watching. Recap video coming soon, podcast coming soon. Bye.